Today's postmark says City of Limerick, and we're in County Limerick, as if you didn't know. To be sure, we're here, your postcard today. Now, if you're going to look at a city, what better place to look at it from a vantage point like this? Michael, what am I looking at?
What you're looking at, indeed, now is part of Limerick. First of all, of course, how can you come to Limerick without looking at our most prominent feature, which, of course, is the Shannon River.
And this is it?
This is the Shannon River. Indeed, it's the longest river in the British Isles, rising in County Cavan to the north, flowing right down through the centre of Ireland, through a town of Athlone in the centre, onwards to Limerick, flowing through Limerick and onwards into an estuary, which can cater for shipping up to 250,000 tonnes. Not quite developed yet as it ought to be, but we're getting there.
Now, as I'm looking out here, I can see the Shannon, as you quite rightly say,
Yes.
coming through to me. And I can hear there's a lot of drills going and there's a lot of building. Limerick, I presume, therefore, has changed over the years because we've got a lot of development now. But where did it all begin?
Around the year 900.
And where?
Vikings, Danes, Normans seen coming up the River Shannon, floating up the River Shannon, observed by the local inhabitants with a lot of trepidation because when they were watching these people, they knew they weren't coming here to visit. In fact, they were coming here to raid, and they did, killing the Irish, capturing the women and children, bringing them back to their ports of origin, and selling the Irish as slaves. The Irish clans were fighting amongst themselves, didn't do very much about it, but eventually, under the reign of Brian Boru of the O'Brien clan in Limerick, the clans united. And then he decided he would find out where most of this depredation was happening, and he found it was happening in a small little village outside of Dublin called Clontarf. The Irish marched to Clontarf, did battle with these foreigners, as they were called. The Irish won, killing thousands of these people. The rest of them fled the country, back to their own countries. And of course, this was the only time in Irish history that the Irish ruled themselves.
Really?
But that wasn't the end we were going to see about these people. Oh no, they came back. And when they came back, they brought their trades, skills, gills with them, coming to Limerick.
The Vikings and the Norsemen.
Vikings, Norse, Danish, created an enclave just round here.
Round this bit here?
Round this bit here. It's called Merchant's Quay. From that point onwards, Limerick started to develop. These people, of course, using their skills, masons, carpenters, all of that, and putting the houses, warehouses, Road Street into place. And then, of course, King John came along and built the castle. And he granted us our first charter.
This spot, where there is now a cathedral on King's Island in Limerick, was originally where the Vikings came up the Shannon and settled here and had their thingmote as a sort of a parliament, their westernmost stronghold in Europe. And then the King of Munster, who was Donald More O'Brien, built a palace here, and it was he then who gave this land over so that a magnificent cathedral could be built. And that was way, way back in the 12th century. You see those cannonballs up there? Well, during the siege of Limerick in 1691, there was a Jacobite cannon at the top of the tower of St Mary's Cathedral here. Well, the Jacobites were the Catholics and led by King James II. And King William, of course, was the Protestant, and they weren't too happy with one another. So what happened was, of course, when the Jacobite gun fired, the Williamites fired back. It created a lot of damage, and in fact you can still find cannonballs embedded in the walls of the cathedral. But what happened then was, at the Treaty of Limerick, a couple of years later, King Willie, he said, okay, it's a fair cop, I'll give you £1,000 to repair everything.